Today I want to talk about Asians and Asian Americans specifically. And I want to talk about a lot of stuff regarding them and um, their future and how it works culturally as they sort of merge into the melting pot that is the United States. And I really think that the analogy of a melting pot holds much better than the mixed salad sort of analogy from before, because I really feel it is over time. And I think this whole video was inspired off of um, a reminiscence of when I was talking to another friend of mine who is also Asian American, also born here, and we were just talking, and it wasn't just with him; it was with others like him. Um, I've said the same thing, and immediately they're like, "Yeah, that's true," and that was that we're already like we've already half forgotten our language, our native. Well, technically, my native language is English. I was born here, but our ancestral language. I mean, it's already half gone. Like, what's going to happen with our children? And it's crazy because all our parents came here straight from China, and like we're technically first generation, right? So it's really crazy, and I really don't know what to think about it because I always want. I always wish like the world was like a very small knit place and everything was all happy go lucky, and um, we can just remember everything and keep all our cultures together and just live under one big family. And I think that's true in certain respects, but I mean, language, at least Mandarin Chinese, it's different. Um, because here's the thing, I know Korean Americans and Hispanic Americans, and they were also first generation, and all of them they speak very very fluently in their other language, Korean or Spanish, and even like other languages like Russian or Italian. Maybe not Italian so much or French so much, but most of them um, can speak it. And I am specifically looking at the group who were born here and raised here. Um, if we extend our like scope and we look at the people who may have been born elsewhere and moved here later on, I see a lot of that for um, a lot of people I see at my school, as well as people I meet through my family, as well as others that aren't Chinese who do the same thing, whether it be from Russia or um, I don't know, Germany and so forth. And I think it's weird because all these people, even the Chinese people, they can speak Chinese very well, but at least for the Chinese people, they can only like their English will I feel like at best, no matter how long they live here, at best it'll only get to a point where it's like a decently broken English with semi decent grammar, if you know what I'm saying. Like I they can speak Chinese fluently, but I won't really consider them like actual Asian Americans in the fact that they themselves usually identify themselves as uh, Chinese, and their culture and mannerisms and identity is Chinese. And despite them taking on a lot of American traits from the clothing, their lifestyle, um, I mean, their English and their understanding of our culture only gets to a certain extent. And I mean, with those sort of groups, I feel like um, they sort of, in one way or other, they'll probably be able to bring that on to their children and so forth. And I really don't know too much about other cultures like Russians or Hispanics or so forth. So I'm not going to talk too much about them. I'm just going to talk about what I know, which is Chinese Americans. Though I do feel like, especially for the Korean Americans and Hispanic Americans, I don't know exactly why, but they can like they just know their other language very fluently, and it does have to do with practice and so forth. And my theory is that Mandarin is harder, both to read, to write, and understand, and it's very quick to forget if you don't keep consistently practicing it. Um, and I think it may also do with cultural stuff. Maybe Hispanics just speak it a lot more from a cultural lifestyle perspective than Chinese Americans do. I mean, my mom in a lot of ways is very Americanized despite her being very Asian in a lot of other ways. And she usually speaks to me in English and it's very Americanized. So um, I don't know. On top of that, I really don't know about. I really. It's very interesting and very scary at times. I really wish the world was just something where I can just keep everything. I love everyone. I love every ethnicity, and I never judge anyone based on ethnicity, despite people judging me based on this. And I don't think this will ever get to a point where we're completely blind. It's just something subconscious. I mean, I hate it, and for me, I don't do it. But I don't know. I'm hoping so. But yeah, one of the big concerns for me when I thought about this, because I was looking at my siblings and they were born after me, and I don't know if it was because we're even more Americanized. My youngest siblings, they were born 10 years after me, so it's a huge difference in lifestyle for them, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I deliberately choose to practice and learn Mandarin as much as I can, while they don't. And even then, my Mandarin speaking is just barely fluent, and my writing is non-existent now. I mean, by the way, it's definitely harder in terms of writing than like Korean or so forth, in my opinion, because you have to memorize every character. Every character represents a word. There's no alphabet sort of thing where you can just piece together letters and so forth. But long story short, I mean, I was just talking to these people and I was looking at my siblings and they were so Americanized. And I knew, at least for me, at their ages throughout life, like right now, one of my siblings is in high school. She's a teenager. She's a senior. And her English, I mean, her Mandarin is not that great. And I knew my Mandarin was better at her age and my youngest siblings' ages. And it's very, very, like, disconcerting to me, because it's like, that's a huge bit of culture I'm not passing down. And I really do identify with Americans. I'm American, and like, I want to represent every culture that I'm a part of, but it's really bad because, like, I remember talking to my grandmother, because all the big family relatives that I have are in China. They're born in China. They've all stayed there pretty much, more or less, save for a few. And so, I have aunts and uncles that are all there, and cousins that are all there, and grandparents that are all there, save for a few. And it's really weird because I talked on my phone to my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, and she was talking to me in Mandarin, and she said something like, no, I said my Chinese isn't that good anymore in Mandarin. And then she says something like, but you're a Chinese person. Okay, it's a rough translation. She was like, but you're Chinese. And it was really sad. And I don't know, I really wish it was a lot simpler and I didn't have to deal with this. And then, you're just born here and la-di-da, and I was white. But that's not how it is. And it's kind of sad, and it really got me thinking, because Asians have been immigrating here since 1800s, 1700s, as have many other groups, Irish and so forth. Um, but it's very interesting. Like it begs the question: where have all of them gone? Have they just sort of meshed into the process? And I used to think, you know, based on the strict culture and traditionalism, and I experienced it a lot in my family as well. I don't feel like they would ever sort of um, uh, marry someone outside of their ethnicity. And I hate to say it, but like, I mean, my grandma, oh, believe me, like, okay, she's not that bad, but she made it pretty clear. And I mean, personally, I don't think that's something that's really a concern. Like, I definitely look outside my ethnicity a little, maybe a little bit too much, honestly. So that's another huge concern for me. But the big problem is, I was wondering, like, whatever happens to these people? Do they just mix into the American culture and then slowly sort of marry other Asian Americans, and then they just stay in this group, and then for all eternity, and you know, they slowly forget how to speak Mandarin, but the rest is still there, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. Why? Because I mean, I think it's still maybe a minority case, but regardless, there's still a lot of hybrids out there. At my college, at my university, I have seen a lot of Asian white hybrids. Um, I definitely think there's more that are white male, Asian female, but the other way around happens too. Why? How do I notice? Because I've approached them and asked them. Some of them give me like a weird, like, who are you? Why are you asking this sort of look? Others are just like, yeah, I get this all the time, and then they tell me, and then I leave. Okay, I'm not trying to hit on them. Okay, maybe I am, but I need to work on my game, because I just leave like a coward afterwards. Um, so long story short, like, I was very confused about this. Like, what's the point? Like, where's this all going? And I really do think that all these cultures are really great. I mean, I do think that they all embody everything, and like, just by existing, like, you're representing all these cultures. And for me at least, I guess what I'm going to try and do is just try my best, despite how bad it being, to preserve that part of my culture um, for as long as possible. And it always begs the question, like, whatever happens to the third or fourth generation Asian Americans, or fifth generation Asian Americans? And do you like actually see that often? Like, um, and like, do you ever see someone and they're like, "Hi, I'm a fifth generation Asian American"? It never happens. And I think it's just because, like, if you really look around you, most people are pretty mixed. Like, almost everyone. Like, if you look at a lot of celebrities, they're gonna have like their grandpa's gonna be half Asian or half black or half Irish or half Italian, or like some part of them is gonna be like Native American and so forth. Like, all of us are so mixed right now, and um, I don't know where it will take us, because there's a lot of mixing, but there's also a lot of traditionalism and avoidance of that. Um, but it's very interesting, and it's I think what happens is we sort of just slowly merge into the American culture. And um, another thing is the fact that Americans, I mean, I mean, Asian Americans. I do know. I have seen a few that do know who they are. Like, they're like, yes, I'm a third generation Japanese American, or fourth generation Japanese American. But those are rare and far between. And of those I knew, I mean, they had forgotten. Like, they don't know how to speak Japanese at all. They're pretty much Americans, save for maybe how they look. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And that's all of them. And then like if you're a hybrid, like half Asian, half white, or have you know what, Asian, half black, you would think is an anomaly, and it is in certain ways. But on the other side, the flip side, I mean, I've seen quite a few. Like it's not like one in every 10 or one in every 100, but still one in every 1,000. Um, I still see quite a few, and it's very interesting because if you do have these hybrids, like it's very hard to retain all these different cultures, especially when the parents are very they're not too stringent on it. And even if they are, like it's very tough to be stringent on it because your partner, your wife or your husband, you can't they don't embody the same sort of thing. So you see a lot where they sort of just half half-ass it and put in some of their culture into it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they know not to push too hard on their children because then the children will just reject it all. Um, so it's very interesting. In certain ways sad, but in other ways like your existence. I mean, don't worry about it. Like China is not going to die out because of all the immigrants. Neither is America. Um, and there's always going to be new immigrants coming in from China to restart this cycle. I really do think in 100 years, 200 years, there's always going to be that first generation Asian American like me who's just annoyed with their parents because of the cultural differences. It's always going to happen because our world is large enough to produce these distinctions in culture. Asia and China as a whole are not close enough to the US to mix everything up. But I do think with the internet and time, things will be a lot more together. That's for sure. And I don't know what it is with other languages, and I do also see with Chinese people. Um, there are a lot who are my age. Most of them have been born in China. Some may have been born here, but it's usually because they spent a decent amount of time in China, but they can speak Chinese fluently and also English. Why? How? Um, I guess it's just training, spending more time in China, speaking more with their parents, staying longer in Chinese school. Oh my gosh, you don't even want to get me into Chinese school. So, okay, back when I was in middle school or high school or elementary school, this is the stuff I had to do. On top of school and trying your best to get straight A's, you also had to usually, so like we had to select an instrument, um, and this was all done very slyly. So they were like, yeah, you should play an instrument, it'll be fun. And it's true, it will be fun. It does enrich you in other ways. But sometimes you look around and you're like, why is everyone here an Asian? Hey, how come all the Asians play either a violin, a piano, or some other sort of musical instrument? And I know it's probably pretty mean to stereotype like that, but these stereotypes are unfortunately very true for a lot of aspects. And I don't know whether to applaud those who break it, because I mean, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, music does enrich us. But long story short, like, on top of that, you also had to do Chinese school, and that was a pain. Like, there's homework every week. It was tough. It wasn't like, I do think English is easier to learn and speak than Chinese, for sure, because you can piece together letters to make words, right? In Mandarin, every character represents a symbol, and you pretty much had to straight out memorize like all the characters. How on earth can you do that with thousands of characters? Well, it seems very hard, but the human mind is an incredible thing, and literally, it just gets very easy with time. it just comes naturally for some reason. But it just seems like a huge mountain to surpass initially, like memorizing all that stuff. And that's what we had to do. We had to memorize these characters and then learn the grammar and so forth and write the homework out. It was such a pain. I lasted until like sixth grade or something, but it was a huge steep slope. Like people were dropping out every grade level because it got harder and harder, and like by graduation, there's like maybe like 4 or 5 out of like the hundreds that attended first grade. It was crazy, but it was super tough. Like I applaud those people who did that. And those are the ones who eventually, like, they can speak Chinese and American English very fluently. And I don't know, that's all I have to say. Yeah, just take life one step at a time. I think the biggest thing to know is that no one's really busting your back for doing all this. No one's going to like reprimand you, like, oh, you screwed up our culture by not remembering how to speak Chinese. I mean, it sucks, but just live life, enjoy, and try your best to practice Chinese and retain that culture when you can. I mean, I see moments where it's like there's nothing else to do but that. And those are the moments when, you know, I end up, for whatever reason, at a family gathering and there's a lot of Chinese people there. And, you know, back in the past I may have been stubborn and I just would have just spoke English and not even tried, not even bothered, like my siblings may do. But I mean, it's these instances where it's like, come on, like you know Chinese to a certain extent, why not practice and try and retain some culture? I mean, there's nothing else to do at this moment in time, and it really can be quite amazing when you do that, because you'll meet so many people. In my last semester alone, when I decided to do this, I met 2 people, and both from different events. One was a girl, one was a guy. It was amazing. They were both white. I had no idea at all. They were just normal people. I was talking to them. The male dude, he was sitting next to me in my bio lab class, and it turned out he had worked in the Air Force for a long time as a translator, and he spoke Chinese. It wasn't perfect because he had forgotten a lot, but it was crazy. I mean, this guy was just sitting next to me. Then there's another girl, but she knew because the event was Chinese Student Association, but it was just crazy stuff. And I like, if you get nothing else from this video, I really just love like other cultures just like embracing us, and just everyone realizing that like we're all just human beings. Bruce Lee is a great example. Bruce Lee said it best. He said in one of the only like live recorded interviews he did, Bruce Lee, who's an actor, I'm sure you guys know him, he said something like, when the interviewer asked him, do you consider yourself Chinese or American? He said, I wish everyone would just consider me a human being, because we're all one family that live under the sun. And that's something amazing. Did you know that he married a white girl who and they had 2 children, and one of the children died in an unfortunate accident, but the other one's still alive, and she's still living right now, and she's, you know, half Asian, half white. It's crazy stuff. And yeah, the biggest thing I really like is just when someone just when those people, when there are people I know who are like different cultures, African American and so forth, and you can just tell by the way they are, or the thing they're doing at the moment, or the way they're talking to you, that they have turned a complete blind eye to ethnicity and culture as a whole, and they just look at you as someone cool to learn more about. Or maybe they haven't turned a complete blind eye to culture, but they notice your culture, and they're not looking at it with prejudice, or they're not making fun of it. They're like, wow, that's very interesting, and I want to learn more. And I've seen this with white people. The most recent was this African American dude, this black guy that I knew in one of my physics classes earlier, and he just showed up at this Chinese Student Association thing, one of the only black guys there, and we were talking in it, and it was just really, really cool. I was really excited for him. Like he just said, you know what, I'm showing up for fun. He was like the last dude I expected to be there, and he's like, I found out about this, and I thought it'd be really cool, and I'm just like, wow, you're here. It's just really amazing, you know. And those guys can sometimes be few and far in between, but it's just really cool when that happens, you know. And if you are like whatever ethnic group you are now, and you're scared of like people making fun of you or making jokes, for Asians, unfortunately, it's the small PP, excuse my language, the small penis down there. That's the big joke with the Asian stereotype, on top of karate and being smart and having yellow skin, which we don't even have. It's more like tan skin, which I don't know why people would even be embarrassed about. Like, those are good things. Like, that's like making fun of like something that like doesn't even make sense. Like, it's like making fun of something you're really good at. It's like, ha ha ha, you're really smart, ha ha ha, you're gonna make a lot of money, ha ha ha. It doesn't even make sense. But no matter who you are, where you come from, whatever name you have, the beauty and the danger of the world is the fact that you're gonna be made fun of in some certain way or other. No matter what you change your name to, no matter who or what you are in terms of skin color, someone can make fun of you. I see it in every group, even white people, every group. There's always going to be someone who's made fun of, and you kind of just have to expect it and say, you know, show them that you are very confident in yourself and satisfied with that. And the best way to do that is just to laugh back and laugh with them. Don't take life so seriously that you can't laugh at yourself. It's hard to do at times. Believe me, it can be very hard to do. But don't take life so seriously. And lashing out and fighting back and getting angry about it, that's just going to lead to more fighting. And we don't need that right now. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.